I'd like to give you all an official welcome here from the upper Texas coast and say howdy. That's what we say down here in Texas. I'm glad all you all could join us here. I've got two wonderful students who are going to help me out with my map, and that is Hersha and Paula, who are from the Seabrook Intermediate School. And we're going to share with you some things about our estuary. Well, we're here because we're celebrating National Estuaries Day in recognition that estuaries are important to our nations, our states, and our regions where these estuaries are located. Now, Galveston Bay is an estuary, and let me share with you why. Galveston Bay receives fresh water from the Trinity River, as well as the San Jacinto River, as well as the miles of tributaries and bayous that are in the western portions of our watershed. Now, it also receives salt water from the Gulf of Mexico, and it mixes with that fresh water that comes down from our rivers and tributaries and forms a real productive estuarine environment. Also, one part of an estuary, if you guys have been studying out there, you also know that an estuary is a semi-enclosed body of water. And as you can see, Galveston Bay is partially closed by land. We have land here on the west, which is Galveston County. We have land here on the north side, which is where the fourth largest city in the U.S. is located, the city of Houston. And we have land over here on the east side. And then on the south, of course, we have Galveston Island here, and we have the Bolivar Peninsula. Now, Galveston Island and Bolivar Peninsula serve an important role because what they do is they impede some of the salt water coming in from the Gulf of Mexico to provide that proper mixture of fresh water and salt water. Well, Galveston Bay is important to our state. It supports, associated with its habitat, it supports over 162 species of finfish. It supports 2/3 of the state's oyster reefs. It also supports 1/3 of the state's shrimp. It produces, additionally, 1/4 of the state's blue crab. Now, as we know, we all like seafood. The students here we talked earlier, they enjoy seafood. And many of you actually have eaten seafood straight from Galveston Bay. So Galveston Bay is important to us and to you all as well as many of our estuaries across the country. And the reason it's important is because it provides millions of dollars to our economy and billions of dollars in jobs for employment that's associated with water-like activities. Now, the Galveston Bay Estuary Program was created to address the threats that are facing estuaries like Galveston Bay. What we do, in fact, is we partner with the federal and state agencies, the local governments. We partner with the commercial and recreational fishermen, all those who have a stake in Galveston Bay, to implement projects that'll preserve it for future generations. Some of the projects we have done are seen here on this map. We've restored over 1,000 acres of habitat, mainly in some of our natural areas, which are here in West Bay, some in the East Bay area, some here in the Trinity Bay area, and then some here in the lower Galveston Bay area. But Eddie Seidensticker will talk to you about that a little bit later. In the western portion, our more industrialized and urban areas is where mostly our water quality problems exist. And we've worked with Sea Grant, the Marine Extension Service, our counties, and our cities to educate citizens on things they can do to help because they play a major role. I mean, they can maintain their vehicles a little better because the oil that drips from those vehicles can ultimately end up in Galveston Bay. Now, we have also a huge event that we hold every year with the Gulf Coast Waste Disposal Authority, as well as the Houston-Galveston Area Council. And that event is called Trash Bash. We've had some 43,000 volunteers who've come out to pick up trash over the past 7 years. And we've actually picked up some 1,400 tons of trash and over 2,900 tons, or actually 2,900 tires, I'm sorry. So you can see there's plenty of opportunity for students to get involved, and many of our students here have actually been involved in that particular activity. Now, we've also worked with counties to do septic systems because if septic systems are not maintained properly, the sewage will leak out of the septic systems and the bacteria can affect the oyster reefs that are in our bay system. Now, since I can't take the camera with me to go through the 600 square miles of the Galveston Bay area or the 33,000 square miles of the watershed, we're going to show you some pictures to give you an idea of what Galveston Bay really looks like. Okay, now as we move from the Gulf of Mexico past the beaches along our coast, we find a range of habitat types, from open waters to intertidal marsh to mud flats to additional wetlands, to submerged aquatic vegetation, which we also call seagrasses, to more marsh, to our riparian areas where we have hardwood and flatwood trees that lie along the banks and shoreline, to our upland grasses areas, such as our beautiful coastal prairies. These habitats support specific plant, fish, and wildlife species that are important to the overall Galveston Bay ecosystem. As you have seen, the Bay ecosystem is a complex web of interacting components. Although we love to eat fish, crabs, and oysters from the Bay, other animals depend on the Bay too. Birds use the habitat for shelter, and fish and other critters in the Bay for food. We have rabbits, deer, alligators, and other wildlife which depend on the Bay itself, the plants and trees in and around it to survive. Balancing the many uses is one of our greatest challenges, however. Refineries and industries develop along the shoreline because they gain cheap access to raw materials and markets for their products. Ports become entry points for ships, bringing products like bananas or automobiles from all over the world. Cities along the bays become transformation and processing points for products like petroleum and wheat. People love boating, fishing, and sightseeing all around Galveston Bay. To ensure the preservation of Galveston Bay and the wonderful treasures within it, like systems like the Almond Bayou Nature Center, it will require the involvement of everyone. It will require involvement of students like you all out there. We have students who enjoy our bay around here. They help plant marsh, they learn to monitor water quality, and they share information with their family and friends. You all should congratulate yourselves for being involved in this process, because it is important that you learn the significance and importance of estuaries, because what you do can make a difference.